Good morning, Margaret, Jack, Yvonne, everybody. Apologies I can't be there today. I'll begin by stating my research question, which is how can I design a recovery-oriented e-learning website for people with mental health difficulties? I suppose my main concern is that I can use technology, specifically internet-based e-learning, to enhance and support the learning and personal development of people with mental health difficulties, and to encourage a recovery-oriented mental health service delivery. I'll be talking a little bit about recovery later on. My secondary concern is that such technology and websites and e-learning is appropriately designed for people with mental health difficulties in a way that maximises its potential to these users and doesn't constitute a barrier to learning or make the digital divide that mental health users currently experience any worse. I suppose I'll talk a little bit about my context. I work for a company called Eva Limited, which is an arm of the Health Service Executive in Ireland dealing with mental health and providing day services for people with mental health issues, mainly providing activities, I suppose, that are person-centred and aimed at education and rehabilitation. Eva Limited Mental Health Services in Ireland are undergoing what we call, I suppose, a paradigm shift from an old institutional type model to a more community-based model, and now informed by the ethos of recovery. As I said, the recovery model is really where we're at the moment. We are currently implementing a recovery-oriented service which is built around hope. It's concentrating on the wellness of the individual rather than their illness. I'm very concerned about the internet usage and use of e-learning for people with mental health difficulties. It's very much in its infancy. There hasn't been much research around this area. Internet usage is very low throughout Europe for people with disabilities and mental illnesses, and I hope to change that in some small way. Obviously, as we're talking about living theory, my values are very, very important to me, and here I state my values. Number one, I would put hope. I see hope as being very important, both in an educational sense and in a life sense, that we have hope that things can get better, that things can improve. Hope is something that has, for many, many years, been lacking in mental health services throughout the world, and that's something that I hope to live through my practice. DIY, or doing things for yourself, again, relating to mental health. For very long, people have been told what to do, or have had things done for them or to them, rather than people actually getting in there, learning things for themselves, doing things for themselves, which is how most people in a social context learn, I believe. I also believed in learning at your own pace and self-directed learning. I believe, again, it's tied in with the do-it-yourself approach, that people can learn at their own pace. We have people within our service of wildly varying abilities, partly because of their illness, but partly because of lack of education opportunities earlier in life. A lot of people have literacy difficulties and need time to take in information and to practice and direct things and to do things at their own pace. And also I believe in group support. I hold that very, very dear. Again, in a wider context, but also in an educational context, that I believe that people who support each other, rather than the teacher standing there and helping people all the time, that they can learn from each other and by observing each other, and kind of that ties in with a little bit of the scaffolding, which I'll be talking about a little bit later on. Looking briefly at my literature that I'll be reviewing for this research, my first theme is around recovery and mental health, so explaining what that is, and I'll be looking closely at Mary Ellen Copeland, who deals with recovery on an individual level, and the themes of empowerment, hope, group support, education. She's a former service user herself, so knows really what she's talking about. Bill Anthony deals with recovery more at an organisational level, so standards and practices that organisations and mental health services can engage in to become recovery oriented, so including things like change management and education and so forth. My second theme looks at website design for people with mental health difficulties. I look firstly at accessibility and usability in the general sense and for people with disabilities, but then concentrate more on specific research that is done. There's not much around, but around the use of websites by people with mental health difficulties and cognitive issues and medication issues and so forth. And then leading on from designing the site to developing content, which is the next stage of filling the website with e-learning content. I'll be looking at that in terms of e-learning in Web 2, providing various different forms of content that can be useful for people with mental health difficulties, and also scaffolding techniques built into the e-learning that can help people learn from each other and learn from the site itself and pace themselves and things like that.